Hi everyone. So today I'm going to talk to you about the theoretical approach, which I believe is most effective when teaching literacy, and that is the balanced approach. So I'm going to start out to talking to you a bit about what the balanced approach is and giving you a little background information on that. So when teaching literacy skills, one of the most effective ways to do so is through a balanced or interactive approach. This approach combines both the bottom-up and the top-down approach to literacy instruction. The theorist who created the interactive approach to learning was David Rumart. Rumart states that when you are reading, multiple processes are working together simultaneously in order to give visual input, rather than only one working at a time. So, in other words, during reading, higher order processing affects lower order processing, just as lower order processing can affect higher order processing. So, what this means is that if a child struggles with lower order processing, such as decoding, they will not be able to comprehend what they are reading. Just as if they do not understand the context or the meaning of the words in the story, then they will also have difficulty reading that story. So this is why I believe that the balanced or interactive approach to teaching literacy is the most effective. So in order to give you a better understanding of what the balanced approach is, I'm going to discuss some of the main components of the bottom-up approach and also the top-down approach. So you will see throughout this presentation how the balanced approach takes components from both bottom-up and top-down approach in order to most effectively implement literacy instruction. So first, I'm going to go ahead and discuss the bottom-up approach. So we'll start by giving you a little bit of background information. The bottom-up approach to learning represents learning in a series of distinct stages that build upon one another. Tracy and Morrow explained this approach as a reading process that starts with lower level skills such as letter identification to higher level skills such as constructing meaning as you read. So the first stage in this reading model must be mastered before following stages can begin in the bottom-up approach. Several theorists created theories that support the bottom-up approach. These theorists and theories include Philip Goh with the information processing model, and also Liberg and Samuels, who created the automatic information processing model. So Philip Goh proposed a model known as the information processing model. The information processing model is consistent with a bottom-up approach because readers begin by translating written letters into sounds and then piece them together to make words. After words can be made and decoded, the reader can then begin to comprehend what they are reading. A second model that supports this approach is the automatic information processing model. This model was created by Liberg and Samuels, is very similar to Goh's model in terms that comprehension follows decoding. This model begins by developing automaticity in visual letters and words, then letter and language sounds, and lastly, meaning making of words. Once automaticity is established in reading, which is also known as fluency, the reader can focus on comprehending and understanding the text which they are reading. So as you can see, the bottom-up approach starts by teaching the basics to reading, such as phonics, and building these skills in sequential order, one on top of the other. In contrast to the bottom-up approach, the top-down approach starts with a general concept and the application of skills, which are derived through authentic emergence in literacy. In this approach, speaking, listening, reading, and writing are all taught together at the same time. According to Tracy and Morrow, the top-down approach views the reading process as being dependent on what is in the reader's head rather than what is written down on the paper. The top-down approach emphasizes the importance of background knowledge when reading, and this includes background knowledge of the topic, knowledge of text structure, including word and sentence structure as well, and also vocabulary knowledge. So when reading, all of these sources are used in order to make meaning of the text, according to the top-down theory. Some theories that support the top-down approach include Kenneth Goodman, who created the whole language theory, and Louise Rosenblatt, who created the transactional reader response theory. The whole language theory still views reading as a language process, but argues that the language process will develop when children are immersed in high-quality literacy environments and exposed to meaningful, authentic literacy experiences. According to Goodman, whole language teachers do not consider themselves to control the learning in the classroom, but rather view their classrooms as learning communities where the teachers share what they know with their students and they all collaboratively work together to solve problems and find answers. And then moving on, the transactional reader response theory was created by Louise Rosenblatt, and it's an extension of the schema theory. So she argued that each reader has a unique and individualized reading experience because of their unique schemata background and experiences. So due to the fact that everyone has such different experiences with different aspects in their lives, each person's reading responses will differ because their background knowledge regarding these topics are different. So for example, if two different students are reading a story about public transportation, a student who lives in a big city and takes public transportation frequently will have a very different reading response than a student who lives out in the country and has never taken public transportation before. So that's just a little information for you about both approaches and how they are combined together to make a balanced approach. So now let's talk a little bit about what the balanced approach looks like inside of the classroom. So this approach, like I said, highlights the importance of teaching students literacy using both bottom-up and top-down approaches in order to help students be most successful in learning to read. So a classroom that supports the balanced literacy approach will place emphasis on teaching basic reading skills such as phonemic awareness, phonics, and decoding skills, and also provide students with many authentic literacy experiences. So not just one or the other, but both combined together. So this classroom will be filled with a variety of literacy which students can explore. So a typical day inside of a balanced literacy classroom is going to include the teacher reading aloud to students, and students and teachers reading together in shared readings, students reading on their own, and also the teaching of specific structured phonics lessons throughout the literacy block. So this classroom will contain a library with a variety of books that cover a variety of levels and a variety of genres. So a balanced literacy classroom is typically ran workshop style, where students are engaged in centers throughout most of the literacy block. Center time will allow for students to choose which type of books they would like to read. Students will have a chance to read on their own, partner read with one another, and also listen to reading. In addition to these reading choices, students will also complete word workstations where they are working on and practicing phonics skills which have already been taught to them. During center time, it's a great opportunity for the teacher to work with students in small groups or possibly individually. So while students are engaged in centers, the teacher can pull guided reading groups, literacy circles, give strategy lessons, or conference with students. So as you can see, the balanced approach incorporates many components from both bottom-up and top-down approaches throughout the day. Now I want to talk to you about different learning styles in the classroom and how the balanced approach can support different learning styles and English language learners within the class. So the first way that this approach does this is by allowing students choice. In a balanced literacy classroom, students have a variety of books that they can choose to read. These books are at a variety of reading levels, so students can choose and read books that are at their appropriate reading level, whether they are higher level readers or lower level readers. So they have a lot of choice in that aspect. It is also very important to include books that support a variety of cultures in the classroom, and this is very important to help English language learners feel more comfortable within their environment. In addition to choosing the books that they want to read, children also have many choices in the center activities which they will complete throughout the day. So centers make it very easy to provide options for work for students to complete at a given center. So these choices can purposely be designed to allow for differentiation in the difficulty of the task provided. For example, in the WordWork Center, if there are students still working on letter sounds, there can be a choice for a letter sound matching puzzle or an activity related to that skill. Whereas if there are other students in the class that have already mastered this skill, and they're working on more difficult things such as different spelling patterns, word families, things of this nature, then there can also be a choice for this type of activity. So each center can be designed to support different ability levels of the students in your class. And this strategy can also be used to help support English language learners in the same way that I just explained. So the centers can be designed to add extra, have choices that add extra support for the different learning levels and needs of English language learners within the class. So now I want to talk to you about the teacher's role during center time. And as I previously mentioned, center time is a great opportunity for the teacher to implement guided reading, literacy circles, or conferencing. Guided reading and conferencing allows the teacher to provide differentiated instruction for each student within the class. So during this time, students are working in small groups with the teacher to get instruction that is at their specific reading level. Guided reading also supports an interactive approach because at this time the teacher is teaching specific reading strategies in order to decode word. So for example, the strategy lips of the fish can be taught, get your mouth ready to say the word. There's the reading strategy chunky monkey, break the word into chunks that you already know. And stretchy snake, slowly stretch out each sound to make the word. And each of these strategies support the bottom-up approach where you're teaching those decoding skills. So in addition to teaching these skills during guided reading, the teacher is also supporting a top-up approach by activating student background knowledge before reading a story, explaining the context of that story. And at this time, the teacher also teaches students to visualize the text, use context clues, and make predictions, and ask their own questions about the story as they are reading the story. So as you can see, the balanced classroom during center time really does apply both bottom-up and top-down approaches to teaching students to use all of these strategies together rather than just one or the other in isolation. So moving on, we're going to now talk about technology in the classroom. And as we all know, incorporating technology within the classroom is of utmost importance in today's day and age. The ever-growing use of technology today has had a significant impact on almost all instruction within the classroom. In order for students to be successful in the world today, they must know and apply technological skills. Technology in the classroom allows for students to be more engaged in their learning while also providing them with an interactive approach to learning. Technology allows for students to learn at their own pace while providing differentiated instruction to individual learners. So understanding the importance of technology integration in the classroom, the interactive approach really does allow many opportunities for integrating technology. So one way you can do this is through phonics instruction. When teaching specific phonics lessons, there are a great deal of online resources that the teacher can use to teach phonics skills. So for example, you can show videos of different word families and spelling patterns. And there are many online games that can be played for students to practice the phonics skills which they are learning, whether if it's a letter sound game, a word family game. Students can play these to practice and strengthen their phonics skills. And these type of games can be played whole group, maybe if you have some extra time, or at the end of a phonics lesson. And also during center time is a great time to have a center that integrates technology where they are playing these word games. So you can also integrate technology kind of using a whole language approach. One way of doing this is by allowing students to listen to stories. There are many sites that show the words of the story as they are being read aloud to the students. Listening to reading also allows for students to choose the books which they want to read, and also to be listening to books and following along at books at a variety of levels, so at their own reading level. Some other ways that technology can be integrated is to help activate student background knowledge on specific topics. So short video clips can be found on text topics and shown before reading a story in order to help students gain context and understanding of the story topic. Many presentations, such as PowerPoint or Prezi, that include related pictures and photographs on the text topic can be given or shown to students before reading a text about a specific topic. There are also several great websites, such as Pebble Go, that can be accessed by students if the topic they are going to be reading about is related to animals, nature, or famous historical figures. One more great free website is BrainPop Junior that contains numerous short video clips on many content-specific subjects that could be shown to students prior to reading a specific text on that subject. So each of these technology-related resources can be used in order to activate student prior knowledge or help students gain background knowledge on a given topic. One more way that technology can be used in an interactive classroom is by having students voice record their responses, reactions, or discussions to a story. An electronic discussion thread is a great example of this. So students can type or voice record their own initial responses to a text and then reply to their classmates' responses in order to elicit individualized discussions about reading. Students can also use digital storytelling to retell a story in their own words. The discussion thread or digital storytelling are both great examples of a literacy center that could be used during center time in reading workshop. So these are really only a few examples of the many ways that you can integrate technology into an interactive teaching approach to literacy. So to wrap up, the interactive approach to learning is the most effective approach to teaching literacy. It takes components from each approach and shows how they can work together simultaneously to provide high-quality results in student literacy achievement.